got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. When your road seems rough ahead and you're miles from a nice warm bed, you just remember what your old pal said, and boy, you got a friend in me. 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 You got your troubles and I got them too. There isn't anything I wouldn't do for you. We stick together, we can see it through. Boy, you got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. Some folks are trying to get a little bit smarter than I am, bigger, stronger too. But none of them could ever love you the way I do. It's me and you, boy. And as the years go by, our friendship will never die. You're gonna see it's our destiny. You got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. You got a friend in me.
That was good?
Seven takes, that was it.
That's not bad.
Unless you want to do it again.
I don't know.
So we'd get another, get two more good ones.
Yeah.
Good one.
Friend in me.
Jared, don't move. Stay in the camera. Sing it. You got a friend in me. Come on.
You got a friend in me.
No, you have to stay in the camera, baby.
Please?
You
got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. You got a friend in me.
Keep singing it.
You got a friend in me. You got a friend in me.
Oh my gosh. Stay here, baby. Please try it. Try it like this and say, you've got a
You got a friend in me.
Okay, again, go.
You got a friend in me.
So hard.
Hey everyone, Adam here at Trinity Life, and welcome. I'm excited to continue on in our You Got a Friend in Me series, and we find ourselves today talking about mothers and children and kind of the legacy, the role of establishing, maintaining, developing, and creating family legacy. And a big part of that falls on the shoulders of mothers and their children. And so we're going to read out of 1 Samuel chapter 1, verses 21 to 28 today to prepare our hearts to receive, to prepare our hearts for worship, and to inspire us with one small sample of a mother who just dedicated her child to the Lord. And we have a special guest, a special treat for you. I hope that your hearts will be open to hearing her journey and her story and some of the things that she has learned along the way. And so enjoy this. I'm excited for you guys. And I know we got a lot of young moms out there, and hopefully this is good for you. If you're thinking about even having children, this may be good for you. Or if you're single and saying, I'm never gonna have kids, ever, not even a thought for me, maybe this is just a way to learn and understand some of the people in your community next to you. Because if we're really meant to do the one another lifestyle and carry one another's burdens, this will help you understand and open your eyes to the dynamics that some of the people, some of your friends are walking through. And so enjoy this, guys. Let's worship Jesus and praise the Lord as we come to his word, as we come to song, and as we come to receive from a beautiful story and legacy of faith.
myself of who you are. You are faithful and you are good. You are faithful and you are good. No matter what comes, my heart will be steady. No matter what comes, I'm fixed on you. No matter what comes, fear can't hold me. I cling to you. I cling to you. Trust in him, hope secure in him. He is for me and not against. Fear, oh, you don't stand a chance, 'cause I put my trust in him. Hope secure in him. He is for me and not against. Fear, oh, you don't stand a chance, 'cause I put my trust in him. I'm fixed on you. No matter what comes, fear can't hold me. I cling to you. I cling to you. To you.
Amazing. We will continue to look to worship Jesus, but let's pause for a moment and just share some stories in our community right there, you and your R3, about your own mother. And so why don't you tell a story about just a really special memory you have of your mother? And for me, for someone with my journey, I have an interesting and colored relationship with my mother, and she's also passed away now. And so there's a lot. It'd be tempting to me to bring up all the negative stories, but even in that, there's still a few nuggets in there that really shaped me, formed me, and just share one of those really positive mother experiences in this community. And if your relationship with your own mom wasn't there, then maybe think of a significant female figure in your life, someone you may even consider a spiritual mother that you may have a really cherished or special memory with, or an older sibling. Or if you were raised in a family with a single dad, then just do that too, because that dad would have had to play both the father role and the mother role for you. And so share one of those special memories of how it formed you. And and if you have nothing, let this time not bring you to shame or guilt, but just be thankful for the memories of those around you, and just celebrate what they got to have and enjoy the gift of them getting to share it with you. And may that lead you to continue to praise and worship Jesus. So enjoy that short time together. Take a minute, share those stories, celebrate, and praise the Lord.
think because growing up, no one really teaches us how to be independent. That's something just kind of to learn through it. And I think that young adult age is where you just feel really lonely and try stuff out and figure it out on your own. So when you're in your like adult age, you're able to be by yourself without feeling too lonely. Or
I think it actually comes down a lot with social media, because a lot of times you see people on social media having fun, whereas like say you're alone, like having to do work or study, and it just exacerbates your loneliness because you're not out there doing the things with them. And also I think it's hard to make genuine connections these days, especially like here at U of T. A lot of the times the people, you just see them in class, which only happens like once or twice a week, and people just come and go. So I think that's why.
the other thing that I think might be a cause as well is like the academic pressures, because in university you have like you have to work on assignments and stuff, and that might be taking some time for people to socialize with others, and so that might be a reason as well.
I think you're always surrounded by community. In high school, you have your classes and go to every day. In college as well. And then as you get older, you start to lose that. So once you're out of college, we don't really have that sense of community anymore, and going to class, seeing the same people every day. So I'd say that's a big factor.
I think it's because of the work culture here. The student culture and the work culture here just doesn't allow for personal relationships as much as you would like. Constantly studying, constantly working. It's always dedication to improving yourself, and I do like that, but there are things in life that are more important than money. There are things in life more important than whether you get 100% on this test. I think people should value the time they spend with the people they love a little bit more, but I think the culture in Toronto specifically is very, very, very dedicate yourself to improving yourself, and not emotionally or mentally. It's just climb up the corporate ladder, make as much money as possible, get the highest grades possible. And that's just the way it always has been. So
hey everyone, excited to continue on in our You Got a Friend in Me series. My name is Adam, as you know, and today we have
Emily.
And a very special guest.
Yeah, this is Mrs. Z.
And
Mrs. Zantingh.
She's here because she plays a very important role in our story, your story in particular, but then that became our story together that we share. But also because we're going to be talking today about the relationships between mothers and their children and how that leaves a legacy into eternity. And you have one or two kids? How many kids do you have?
7.
And how many grandkids will you have?
11 in May.
11. Yeah. Amazing. And so a veteran mother, and then my own wife is an amazing blessing and gift to 2 daughters, and is just a fountain of wisdom for a bunch of young moms in our community. And so thank you for that. And we're hoping that the kind of seasoned veteran wisdom combined with Emily's fervor and passion will bring us a beautiful deposit for our moms today. So we'll see what happens. So, okay, so this isn't your mom, but you
Correct.
consider her a mother in many ways. And so could you guys kind of go back and forth a little bit about how that came to be? What were those early days like? Why did you end up living at her house? Why did you end up taking this girl in?
She's already crying.
And yeah.
You want to start?
Yeah, so Emily was part of our kids' young adults, or was it youth at the time?
Well,
Two of our kids, and that time she needed a place to stay, and we took her in.
Yep. Yeah, your oldest daughter was moving out, and Peter
Yes.
told me that there was a room available in the
right.
house, and he's like,
Yeah.
well, I'll just go ask my mom. It'll be fine. You can move in. That's what he said. And literally that week, I think we packed up my stuff in a truck and I moved in.
Yeah.
Not even having met you, really.
No, that's
I had
true.
hardly ever even really met you and Mr. Z. And I moved in that week, and God was just all over it. Y'all gave me a place to live. I was brand new Christian, just found my faith for the first time ever, found a community and a group of friends that I just started to walk with, and it was amazing. Yeah.
So you guys didn't have a relationship. So people are going to be seeing this and be like, that's crazy. Like, so for you, Miss Z, why would you do that? And it's not as simple as she just needed a place. Like, because you're not doing that for everybody.
Well, no, but I think at the time too, I trusted my kids at the time, and it's not unheard of that we had kids with us prior to that. So when Peter said, you know, Mom, maybe this is a good idea, this will bring Emily in, then my husband and I, Tony and I, just thought, why not? We had room, not really, but we stuck her in the house. Yeah.
So that's a unique dynamic right there. Like you said, I trust my kids.
Yes,
Like,
I did at that point. Yes, I did.
Like I think back and I'm like, if I came to my parents and were like, hey, this random person, can they just live in our house? Like, there's no way that would ever happen.
Right.
How did you build that dynamic and that level of trust with your kids where you could trust them?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I don't know if that was like just thought of. I think it's just because when we lived on the farm, we took kids in. So it was just part of what we did. So it wasn't really that. Yeah, so just was kind of a natural thing.
It's in your culture. It's in your DNA as a family.
Yeah, and we had already had another, I think, troubled youth in the home at that time because my oldest son was working for youth at the time, and the youth group up here, and there was a very troubled young man that needed a place for a couple of weeks, and it ended up to be 7 years in and out.
Wow.
Yeah.
So at that time, we were fresh already. I think Zach was already in. Maybe I should have said the name. But anyway, and then Emily came in. Yeah. So it was kind of like, it just became, it was natural, put it that way, for me at the time.
Already I'm seeing, we're getting into it right away here.
Let's do it.
Already I'm seeing you have a culture in you that the Spirit has led you to desire to do something for those without, like to take care of the widow and the orphan. Don't grieve. I'm not crying, you're crying.
They're all going to cry. Everyone's crying.
Yes, very much.
And that early on multiplied into your kids.
Yes, it
where
did.
they recognize and they now have a rubric to say,
Yeah.
and involve you in that mission and ministry together. That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. You combine like almost like Peter's desire for evangelism and shepherding, which he's so good at, with like your heart too. And it's just so cool how the whole family's gifts really do serve one another and work together and all that stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Emily, you're in this house, you're young in faith, you're, what was that? What were you seeing? What was God teaching you through being around
I'm gonna cry.
her and them? And what are some of the best things that you hold on to from those years that shaped you?
If I can spit it out, we're all crying today. I think we're actually all crying because I think there's I think there's a lot of deep mother wounds, right? Like I think a lot of people carry a lot of hurt. And one of the reasons that I kind of ended up where I was is I was living alone with my dad, whom I love very much. And I found my faith, but I knew I couldn't pursue it where I was living and in the context I was in with my father. And just met Jesus, found a family to call, my church family, and then moved in with these guys. And just their willingness to take in like a complete stranger as I was like on my journey of faith it spoke volumes to me, not having come from a family like that, not having parents that would necessarily do anything like that, not seeing that big picture. And
because your mom, instead of taking people in, she actually left.
Yeah, she left when I was 8. So I had never had a mother figure in the home since I was 8 years old. And so getting to move into this house where it was like this awesome family, there were so many kids, there's so much life. And I moved in while the other young man that you took in was also there. And he was in a really difficult place emotionally and just physically in a lot of ways. And I mean, even that spoke. And while I was there, you took in somebody else. So there's actually like 3 orphans in your basement. Like it was me and these 2 other, it was a young lady and a young man. And we were all just like taking up space in this family's home. And it taught me so much. Like, I think something that I've brought with me from your house is like our doors are always open.
My kitchen was always open. That was great.
Yup. Yup. Yeah, like our doors are always open. And so I got to take like that one element from that home, from your guys' home, and from your spiritual leadership in my life. And yeah, so I don't know, that was like one really...
Talk more about that piece, the spiritual leadership in your life, how you observed her, maybe with her kids, or get more granular about.
Yeah, I mean, there was like small stuff here and there that were just practices in the home. Like we would take out the Bible at dinner sometimes. There'd be prayer. There was tons of care and compassion. Mrs. E would almost do like counseling sessions with all of us. Like inadvertently, we just walk upstairs in our pajamas, sit down and talk for 3 hours, whether it was, you know, the other 2 or me or one of the kids, or like everybody was just always involved in caring for one another and listening to one another. And I think there was just that space to like learn and grow and talk about our faith, and be cared for, honestly. Like at such a time, like young adulthood is a very difficult time to navigate for most people, emotionally and spiritually, mentally. And yeah, there was just so much room to just ponder those things at your home. So much space for that. Yeah.
You're probably hearing some of this and thinking, Emily, you have such rose-colored glasses,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
You're making it sound so perfect. You're making it sound so beautiful. But you have, you probably look back on your story and you see some of the ups, but also probably some of the downs.
Yeah.
What are some of the downs you journeyed through that you feel like shaped you as a mother? Maybe it could be that one of the kids was acting a fool. It could have been that you made a mistake, or maybe share a couple of stories that we could really learn from.
From during that time or before?
Just your whole journey of motherhood.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't all rosy. I don't want to paint that picture. I mean, there was, many hardships even between, husband and wife, communication, stuff like that. But I think my desire for having the kids feel safe and warm and fed kind of overrode everything else. As long as I could give the kids a place to call home, a place to lay their head down and just be, that was important for me. And I think the younger kids too helped with that, with the older ones, and just, I don't know, it could be a lot of fun. But I struggled with, with some of my own children, especially one of them who walked away from the Lord, or walked out of my life already at 18. And then I had twins at the time that were quite young, and I just remember at that time how painful that was, but I knew I needed to let it go. And so one thing that I will always remember is how I had tucked the little ones into bed and sitting in the rocking chair, just praying and going, I can't do this anymore, Lord. If the oldest one doesn't come, around, well, whatever, he's yours. And even if it takes 40 years. And unbeknownst to me, I don't even remember really the timeline. I think it was probably 3 years later. We had since then moved, and he came back to the Lord, and and I've had those experiences with 2 other my kids too, who was, quite a struggle. So I've had some kids that have eased very well into life, never really gave me trouble, but I also had ones that it was very difficult. But I learned that forgiveness is a key. Going back, talking to them about it, and really examining myself and what I did wrong, and apologizing for that, and being open and honest about the stupidity and the idiot things that I might have said or done to them. embarrassing as it could be, right? But just talking openly to them and and then seeing God's grace through that and giving them grace to, navigate their own way, but also giving them the time and the space to realize, if they want to say sorry or just the forgiveness part. It doesn't always come right away, but it takes time. And we've definitely accomplished that. I do believe that. That's one thing that God has been really gracious with that and seeing us through that we were able to talk things through, all 7 of them, and, of any mistakes we've made. And, move forward from that. And that's huge. And even though we have other struggles, that part is really, it's been huge in our life.
How was it maybe carrying the weight of some of those mistakes? And I know you said seeking reconciliation was important, and what maybe brought you to a place where you could do that? Hey, buddy. See, this is life of being a mother. Here's our little one. Come on in.
What brought me to?
Where you could come to a place where those mistakes weren't just a point of shame and you kept them hidden, but you were willing to confront those, face those, and see transformation happen in spite of those things.
Well, I just think realizing that God is our Father and He loves us no matter what. Yeah. And He forgives us, and we need to, I just learned to really go, I've made mistakes. And just as my kids make mistakes, I forgive them. I don't hold that against them. I can think of some of the worst things, and I still don't hold that against them. And I really had to see that as I was God's child, and He does the same for us. So.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah, I think I've only been a mom for 6 years, but one of the biggest things that I've learned that is so transformative, even for my young kids, is when I'm able to say sorry and lead out in reconciliation with my kids. And I've definitely made mistakes, even in the 6 years, I've made tons of mistakes and points where I've hurt their feelings or crushed their little spirits for a minute. And one of the greatest things is being able to have that tool that wasn't necessarily taught to me in my home explicitly, but just that tool of reconciliation with kids. And I think it's hard because I know a lot of women who never got that from their moms. So how do we gain that being children of God and being able to pass that down to our kids if we didn't receive it? And I think that's an interesting challenge or problem that arises. And I think we can get what we need, obviously, from the Lord and also from our brothers and sisters and from spiritual mothers and things like that.
Yeah, because even if you weren't raised that way, I wasn't raised that way. I think you can really learn and grow into that by either reading or, having a spiritual mother or friends or whatever. Yeah.
Yep. Welcome, Adam, back.
Yeah.
Brief intermission.
Life as a mom, right?
Yeah, for real. One thing that I really wanted to address with you and see someone else's perspective on is I know we're a church of a lot of young moms, and something that has just been really rampant, or I think is just really common in the life of a mother, is loneliness and depression throughout those early years, and navigating how to overcome those two things. And I don't know, have you experienced those things as a mom?
More so up here than I did in where I was, where the kids grew up. We had a larger community. I don't know. I don't know if I want to say too much about that, but it just, for me, it was better there than it was up here. I felt more lost up here, but that also could be because of trying to make new friendships. We had a lot of kids. Not a lot of people had a lot of kids. There wasn't the same dynamics as where we used to live. So I struggled through that. I think I just did a lot on my own. I'm a little bit of a headstrong that way. So we kind of did it on our own and just went forward.
Yep.
Yeah. Tell me about what was good about those early years that helped maybe keep off some of those things. So you mentioned community. What about that community?
Community was huge back then. It was just a given of where we lived. It was a farming community. You just were always with your friends. You just did coffee dates. You did play dates. It was just big back then. I think being part of a church there where it had, every week it was a given. You just went to coffee break, which is a Bible study for women, and there was babysit for the kids. That was how I was raised. That's how we lived, for 20 years on the farm. So I think that was, it was a blessing, definitely, and a huge part of my life. And I think, I don't really know how that kind of played into later on, but.
Yeah, I think probably something there is.
I know it's important, put it that way. I know it's important and should be maybe more, how do you say that?
Like
made more important
Yeah.
to have that, especially for young moms to get together.
Be very intentional about
Yes,
creating
more
it.
intentional, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is that, especially for maybe people who are considering having kids, like invest in your relationships early.
Yes. Yeah.
So that when that time comes, that is already there.
Yeah.
If that's not the case for you and you find yourself maybe struggling in the middle of it right now, be with a group of people who you can create that with together.
Exactly. I think that's important.
The
Huge.
struggle with building new friendships is like, maybe for us, if you're in that place, like you just have to take a risk and you have to try somewhere. And it may be hard, but the fruit that can come out of what you may gain if you take a risk and try and establish those rhythms, because those sound like some really healthy rhythms. Like spend some time away from the kids once in a while, if anything, regularly, and center on those relationships that help keep you stable and mindful.
Yeah. I think a lot of moms tend to lose their identity. I think after that's like a common conversation, I think, in the women groups that I'm a part of, is like, we have kids and we kind of lose, people will describe it like, I lost my passions or my hobbies or these things. But thankfully in Christ, our identity is like so much more than that. It's so much more than our hobbies. And I think after I had my first, one of the things that was really beneficial was to push myself to do uncomfortable things. Like go to the drop-in where I knew nobody and it was a bunch of strangers, but it helped to just get me out of the house. And my youngest actually like gave me more space and played, and I got just a chance to like take a break. We have a special guest. Sorry, guys. So I don't know, like the drop-in and pushing myself to do things and pushing myself to meet new neighbors or people with kids or do life with and share that burden a little bit helped a lot. I don't know if you were able to do that like with young kids. And I know the community up here is different. Like things are less accessible, especially in the winter. Things are further away.
We just had, it was more the people we grew up with, right? So it's your church friends. There was always something available and always someone's house to go to. It was play dates at someone else's house. We didn't really worry too much about our furniture. And things like that. It was just something we did. I don't know if it's as much up here as it was back then. So I've noticed it's so funny how lonely women are even in the city. I don't think it even changes. And so I don't know if I have any like magical tools to like help the young women, but I think it's just challenging yourself. To go out, and I know that there is play groups around.
There
is play groups in the area here too.
And those things seem small, but they open up the door for community. They open up the door to share the load with the kids. Like now it's not two parents that have to make 2 lunches for 2 or more kids. It's like one parent can host and carry that burden and share that and just do life together and share that struggle and talk about the sleepless nights and like have somebody to relate to and even share like our mistakes with, right? Like, man, like if I didn't have some moms to be like, man, I had a really hard day. My temper was tough today. I felt like I was never nice to my kids. I just felt like I was making it through or whatever. Like tons of women have different problems or issues or just proclivity to sin, but it's just nice to have someone to talk to about that stuff. And so trusting our community with our sin even, or our shortcomings is like, that was huge for me too.
Yeah, you have to, yeah.
So I got some questions. Your children are older now, and your grandma, and so the legacy is starting to perpetuate from like this kind of, from you and Tony, you're part of the story, right? The legacy of your kids and the grandkids. And we have a lot of young families who are in the thick of diapers and the late nights and all that stuff. What do they have to look forward to? Like when you put in those years of investment and those kids grow up, what are some of the beautiful things that come out of the kind? You're probably kind of in the middle years, you know. There'll be the latter years where then the grandkids get older, you know, and so you still have a long road to go still. But those middle years that you're in right now, what are you seeing? What kind of fruit are you seeing come out of that?
Well, first of all, I just really want to encourage the moms to enjoy where you're at with them. Don't rush it. Yes, I know it's full of toys and dirty furniture and blah, blah, blah. But really, they're absolutely precious. Those years are precious. You can never gain them back. Take it slow. You're in it. It'll go fast once you're in school. And how do I see that legacy now?
Yeah, like think the relationship between the kids maybe, or how they've been able to influence up here, or I don't know. What are you seeing come out of your kids that you just are enjoying at the moment?
Yeah, what is
I love watching them be parents and how they do it with their own children, and enjoying that they even do things differently than me, better than we did. I'm not intimidated by that. I don't think my husband is either. I think it's very neat to see them go far beyond what we did. That's probably the neatest thing. Yeah,
I love that. And,
if they can do better, build better, do better with their kids, that's great. I really like that.
I think we've heard that a lot from like Adam and Randy have had some conversations too, and it's just like a common theme, like, man, how can we prepare our kids and the next generation and our spiritual children for like, to set them up for kingdom success, for godly success, stuff like that. It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, praying for them is one thing, and allowing them to make the mistakes and learning and growing through that. That's one thing, and not holding on too tight.
Talk more about that. What have there been moments where you did hold on too tight? What happened where that was the case?
Yeah.
And then moments where you let go, and what happened when that was the case?
Yeah, when you let go and let them, you have to use your wisdom. It's not always easy. There's a time when I held on too tightly, and the consequences of that were not good. I think
is there a story you're willing to share there?
Yeah, do I use names here? Or
you just say one of my sons or one of my daughters.
It's up to you. Well, with the twins at that time, I think maybe I was a little bit more overprotective with them. Not sure. They were boys. And
they're the youngest.
They're the youngest, the babies, and I held on a bit too tightly. We were homeschooling, and then they went to high school, and they were making decisions, and we were not happy with, and I kind of really put my foot down. I see now the mistakes I had to, but it took, about 5 years. They left, they went to the city, they went to school. I kind of lost those years. I found that very difficult at the time, but looking back and seeing them now and how they, how they are coming back and the relationship, I see how God has restored a lot of that. I won't get that back, those 5 years, but we're very close now, and how they, treat mom and dad now and how they're around. Yeah, it's love seeing how God restores, and oftentimes it's quicker than you think.
Yeah.
So that's a blessing. Yeah.
Yeah. One
seeing
thing
that.
I noticed that you guys did, whether it was intentional, I mean, you never actively spoke about it, but one thing I always noticed was that you raised your kids up in order to send them out. You didn't like
Yes.
withhold
Yeah.
like you didn't want to keep them as children. You like built them into men and women who love Jesus. And in doing so, you were able to like do things like ask for forgiveness or be patient in their wandering and in their disconnect from you and in those tensions. And you were willing to say sorry, which made them willing to say sorry. And it's just amazing that you were able to do that, because I think it's a tough thing, especially with young kids, that you're like, oh, I could never send out my baby. Like, so, you know, that's kind of like a common thread. But I love that you just raised them up to send them out, and you sent them out like on mission. And like, I know a lot of your kids pretty well, and they love God, and, you know, and it's always a journey, but it's just amazing to watch your guys' family.
Yeah, I think it was always a desire for me in my own heart that, you know, wherever God takes them, I didn't care if he took them to the ends of the earth, as long as they love the Lord, worship the Lord. That's easier said than done, but yeah. So and letting them make their own decisions, I think it's important. They don't need to follow you in everything you do. They can make their own traditions. They can make their own, even their own church life, their own friend life. You know, your job is to pray for them and guide them the best you can, and then leave the rest to God. And yeah,
I think that concept there is illustrated really well in this passage where Hannah dedicates her child to the Lord and is willing to sit. When you talk about like, I got to the end with my oldest son and I just had to release him to the Lord. I knew that in my own strength, I had nothing else to do or give or offer, and I just had to entrust that. And well, hearing you say like 5 years, I'm like, man, Blakely's 6. Like, that's almost her whole life, you know? And that, I was like, wow, that is a felt loss. Like, that is so real. That's such a length of time to be waiting, to be trusting, to be holding hands open for. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I couldn't, like, that's, you know, we kind of joke about old people sometimes, but like, you really been through a lot, and there's a seasoned grace there. And you probably know this verse already, but I'll just give it to you as a reminder that, and you already said that this has happened and is happening, that the Lord restores the years that the locusts have eaten away.
Yes.
And thank you just for being that example. Thank you for persevering. Thank you for trusting, even in those moments where I imagine it was not easy. And in a world where it's not the kingdom design that the parents would leave, right? Like, we have stories about the prodigal son and stuff like that, and they return, you know, when they realize the love of the father, the parents.
Yeah.
But it's not the kingdom design that the parents are to abandon the children. And so thank you for being the one who persevered and waited, whether it felt perfect to you or not. Thank you for trusting Jesus through that. Could you just deposit a blessing into our community by praying for us? And we'll end our time on that. Is that good? Yeah. Could you do that for us?
Okay. Lord, we just come together now as, especially as young moms, Lord, and young parents. Lord, that you will just bless them, give them the strength, open doors for them, Lord, that they can come together as moms and not be afraid of their mistakes, of the things they've done wrong to their children, Lord, but maybe open doors of coming together as moms, friends, play dates, whatever you have in store for them, Lord. May they seek that out, and may they never be ashamed of what they do, but always come to you and bring it before you. Yeah, and I just thank you for all the young moms, even the older moms and grandparents who are out there. Yeah, just give them strength for each other. May they be willing to be there for each other, Lord. That's an important thing, and open our hearts to that in Jesus'